Oh, so cold. Good morning. This is the morning buzz. Yes, a wind chill advisory issued until about noon today, and some closures and cancellations you need to know about. Clinton School District, they're closed Tuesday, January 16th. That's today. They're closed. That's Clinton. Unit 5, they're closed today. No practices, activities, or games before 3 p.m. Okay, for McLean County School District Unit 5. And then we've got Bloomington District 87. They're going to be learning remotely today due to dangerous temperatures. Cornerstone Christian Academy, that's in Bloomington, they're closed Tuesday, January 16th. Prairie Central, they're closed Tuesday, January 16th today. Pontiac closed today. Leroy closed today. Olympia School District students are actually going to be learning remotely due to dangerous temperatures. Then we've got Hayworth. They're going to be learning remotely due to dangerous temperatures today. Then we've got Illinois State University. They're closed today, and due to forecasted wind chills today, ISU laboratory schools are going to be closed. That includes Thomas Metcalf School and the University High School. Calvary Christian Academy, they're not going to have school today, and activities scheduled after 3 p.m. will still take place at Calvary Christian Academy. So that's all I've got right now. If you have a closing that you want to report, you can email me at cat, at gpmbloomington.com, or go ahead and shoot me a text message. That's 309-451-9299. Like I said, Clinton is closed. Unit 5, Bloomington District 87, Cornerstone Christian Academy, Prairie Central, Pontiac, Leroy, Olympia, Hayworth, Illinois State University, ISU Laboratory Schools, Thomas Metcalf, U High, and then we've got Calvary Christian Academy. So find the complete list of details about closures, cancellations, delays at our website. That's cities929.com. We keep that updated for you. And plus, there is a list on our website as well where for the warming centers. One of them is the Bloomington Public Library. So there are plenty of warming centers in the Bloomington Normal area. And like I said, if your furnace isn't keeping up, if it's broken, I would utilize one of these warming centers because it is cold. I'm live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble, and you can always subscribe to my YouTube channel. We've got so much to get to today. The Iowa caucuses were last night. So let's kind of talk about the results, shall we? Donald Trump, of course, did very, very well. He did very well. Donald Trump won 98 out of 99 Iowa counties after Nikki Haley. She flipped the Iowa County, Johnson County, with one single vote over President Donald Trump. So far left MSNBC host Rachel Maddow is out there having a meltdown, an actual meltdown today, or well, last night, after the caucuses, after the results poured in. And she's having a meltdown after fascist Donald Trump had a solid performance in the Iowa caucuses. I knew that Ron DeSantis wasn't even going to come in second. We know that Nikki Haley was going to come in second. Now, I'll get to the reason why, because she is the left's pick. Okay, they are running Nikki Haley. They have given up on Joe Biden. They're not going to announce another DNC or another Democrat primary challenger for Joe Biden. They're just going to throw their support behind Nikki Haley. And she's the Dems pick. That's really what it is. She's the Dems pick. She's the never Trump pick. So let's play Rachel Maddow because this is absolutely adorable. Rachel Maddow and her having an act.
And I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but the big picture takeaway from that, and I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but.
Well, that clip is not working. I tried to get that fixed yesterday, folks, but it's not working. I'll just tell you what she says. So Rachel Maddow, she has a meltdown, and she, gives a grand performance about how, Donald Trump is a fascist. And here's her quote. I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said on this, but if we are worried about the rise of authoritarianism in this country, we are worried about the potential rise of fascism in this country. Uh, we are worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially a fascist form of government. The leader who is trying to do that is part of the equation, is much bigger, is a much bigger part of that equation. So she's worried that there's going to be this rise of authoritarianism with Donald Trump, and there's this potential rise of fascism in the country. And she said that she's worried about democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially a fascist form of government. Oh, Rachel Maddow. Oh, this is coming from people. They're sitting there at the MSNBC desk. They're sitting there and they're the people who are trying to take Trump off of the ballot. They've been weaponizing the government and the private sector and engaging in election interference via the censorship and media manipulation. These are the people who are the fascists and the authoritarians, and they're the ones who are taking Donald Trump off of the ballot. I don't know what else to say, but that is extremely undemocratic. And it's adorable. Rachel Maddow, she belongs in prison for the way that she's manipulated the public and lied to the public in her role as some sort of media personality. She's one of the few media personalities that I think actually believes the crap she spews. So she was having a meltdown. She's the far left MSNBC host, Rachel Maddow. And like I said, Donald Trump had a great night. Vivek Ramaswamy, he gave it his all, and he actually endorsed President Donald Trump last night. So he gave it all his all, and then he endorses Donald Trump without any reservations. This was a class act all around from Vivek Ramaswamy. All the respect in the world to Vivek. He proved himself to be bright, charismatic, relentless, and America first. So he gave I guess, a concession speech, and this is what he said in that speech: "As of this moment, we're going to be suspending this presidential campaign. This is this has to be an America First candidate in the White House. Earlier today, I called Trump, and now going forward, he will have my full endorsement for president." And he talks about how, he started his campaign on the truth, no matter how hard that is. And he realized, hey, you know, I am no match for Don Trump, and I've got all the respect in the world for this guy. He fought hard, and now he's endorsing President Donald Trump without any kind of reservations or being, butthurt about him losing. Ron DeSantis was very butthurt about losing, by the way. He was butthurt before the Iowa caucuses even happened last night. And I've got proof of that here coming up in just a little bit. But what are we going to be talking about here in the 6 o'clock hour? Well, there was a Palestine heckler, and this pro-Palestine heckler found out what happens when you mess with Texas after he tries to interrupt a speech that Governor Greg Abbott is giving. So we are going to chat about that protester then, or heckler, because he wasn't really protesting anything, because he was all by his lonesome, and he shows up to this event just to cause havoc and chaos. So we'll chat about that. Plus, a trans law professor has a tattoo that says "Be gay and do crimes." And this law professor has been appointed to help create guidelines on gender for the WHO task force. Yes, the World Health Organization task force, and this person has a tattoo that says "Be gay and do crimes." I don't know what that means, but I think it means what it says. And this guy, girl, guy, I don't know, is in charge of setting these guidelines for gender at the WHO. So a little bit later, I do want to play a clip for us. Donald Trump was handing out pizza to Iowa firefighters ahead of the caucus. And he says, "Good luck, everybody. Good luck." I think he was celebrating before the caucuses even happened. I think he knew he was sitting down. He was having a slice of za, and he knew how he was going to just destroy. I mean, he destroyed Nikki too. Nikki came in at second, but she only won one county, and Johnson County is uber liberal. So I wouldn't doubt that they had some sort of operation chaos go on where they had Democrats show up, but I don't know. And then a little bit later, I'm excited to talk about this one, Joe Biden. Is he constitutionally disqualified to run for president? Well, a group of Illinois citizens think so. So we're going to chat about that because is Joe Biden even going to be on the Illinois primary ballot? We'll have to see. I'm back next on the Morning Buzz. Find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're watching, go ahead and smash the like button. That would greatly help me out. If you smash that like button, share this out with your friends, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Cat Peterson 929. Here we go. Henry, the only reason I can see for Democrats backing Haley is that if she gets the nomination in 6 to 10 months, Democrats will trot out Michelle Obama as their candidate, and Trump would win. Haley could not. Yes. So I think they're going to do everything they can to try to uh, push Haley as the nominee for the Republicans, but she won't. That I mean, look at they did this push for Nikki, and she didn't even perform well at all. She won one county in Iowa, and by 1 point. She won that county by 1 point. So she is not, if the Democrats are trying to push her, and I think they truly are, and they're backing Haley and they want her to get the nomination. With Michelle Obama, maybe. I've always said that that's a possibility. Michelle Obama is very likable. I don't know what they're planning to do with Joe Biden. So we'll have to see. But Biden, he's possibly not even going to be on the ballot in Illinois, which is something we will get to. But Donald Trump, he's got to win because, and here's the thing, Republicans who are for Nikki Haley, they are not actually Republicans. They're never Trumpers. And if you talk to America First voters and true voters, people on the ground, they'll tell you it doesn't matter if Donald Trump or it doesn't matter if Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley gets in. What we want is for the deep state to stop meddling in our elections, and we want to be able to select the candidate we want. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. You can find our closings and cancellations on cities929.com. Like I said, Clinton, they're closed today. Clinton School District, Unit 5 closed. They're actually not having a remote learning day. That's Unit 5. Plus Bloomington District 87. They're going to be remotely learning today due to the dangerous temperatures. Cornerstone Christian Academy, they're closed. Prairie Central closed. Pontiac closed. Leroy closed. Olympia School District, they are going to be learning remotely due to the dangerous temperatures. Hayworth, the kids are going to be learning remotely as well due to the dangerous temperatures. University of or the Illinois State University, excuse me, they're closed today. And due to the forecasted wind chills, we're in a wind chill advisory until about noon, and then we'll or wind chill warning until about noon. And then the wind chills will get better here afternoon. But due to these wind chills, the IUC laboratory schools are going to also be closed, including Thomas Metcalf and U High. Calvary Christian Academy, they're not going to have school today. Events and activities at Calvary Christian Academy, scheduled after 3 p.m., they're going to still take place. So find the complete list at cities929.com. We are going to chat a little bit about this heckler, this pro-Palestinian heckler. We'll also get to the trans law professor with the be gay and do crimes tattoo. I don't know what that means. I think it means what it says. But this guy was appointed to the WHO task force where they create guidelines on gender. So, yeah, we'll chat about that here coming up in just a little bit. Plus, Biden, is he going to be off the ballot in Illinois? All of that and more ahead. They say you should never mess with Texas, and this is why. A pro-Palestinian heckler tried to interrupt a speech Governor Greg Abbott was giving. Governor Greg Abbott, he received a letter from Governor J.B. Pritzker the other day, and I'm sure he just kind of chuckled because Governor J.B. Pritzker is quite literally having a meltdown. I don't know. He might need to drink some water. Somebody should check on him. But he's having a meltdown because of the immigrant situation. I mean, we've got all of the migrant shelters in Chicago. They're at capacity. They've gotten well over 30,000 immigrants sent up to Chicago from Texas and from border towns there. And they're dealing with human trafficking, sex trafficking. There was one migrant. His name is Albiro Vasquez Roman. He's 24 years old, the Cook County judge. didn't give him bail or didn't let him out. He had no safety act for him, no cash bail for him. He was apprehended and he's in custody. Uh, but this guy was caught allegedly forcing migrant women, to perform sex acts against their will. He threatened their families. Like, this is an actual Sound of Freedom esque situation in Chicago. And there's all kinds of stories like that happening. And Governor J.B. Pritzker is losing his marbles. Why? Because guess what's happening in just a little while? The DNC, I forget when they're having their convention there, but they're having their convention in Chicago. And Gavin Newsom, he went through and cleaned up the streets of San Francisco for President Xi Jinping. Okay. Same thing is going to wind up happening here. He's going to gather up all of those illegal immigrants. Mark my words. He's going to gather them all up and ship them out to places like McLean County, Leroy. You're going to see it in DeKalb. You're going to see it in, yeah, all kinds of counties. Grundy County. You're going to see it. It's going to be terrible. So anyway, I want to get back to this pro-Palestinian heckler. Okay, he interrupted the speech of Governor Greg Abbott. Why he thought he could overpower a bunch of cowboys and they would just take it is beyond me. He's like a sole heckler, and then he's like amidst all these like cowboys, and he thought that he could take these guys on. I don't know how you thought you could overpower these people, but anyway, that'll be the last time he probably tries to interrupt a speech when a bunch of cowboys are trying to listen. According to the Daily Caller, we have a pro-Palestinian heckler who was treated to a rude awakening when he tried to interrupt a speech given by Texas Governor Greg Abbott in Collin County, Texas on Saturday. Now, the video shows this disgruntled youngster interrupting the speech, and then he was quickly drowned out by the crowd's booing, and then the crowd began to manhandle him. And you can actually hear the guy in the video saying, "Don't bleep and touch me. Don't bleep and touch me. Don't flip and touch me." And the crowd continues to, of course, shove him, yank him, and they shove him out of the event. Multiple attendees were wearing cowboy hats, and they could be seen removing him from the building. The protester was disrupting the campaign event for Abbott's reelection campaign. So this occurred on the same day that the pro-Palestinian protesters marched on the White House. So I don't know if this was coordinated or what, but of course the heckler had a man bun. The video wouldn't have been complete without the guy having a man bun. The guy had a man bun, and all of these cowboys just yanked on him, shoved him out of the campaign event, which was great. Anyone who feels so entitled to disrupt an event like that belongs to some sort of dumbest members of society club. Okay, no one who disagrees with you would ever suddenly have a change of heart because you childishly interrupt an event like that. We know we're dealing with the most ignorant members of society because only one side is interrupting events and disrupting people's lives, and that's the left. Okay, that's the side that continues to disrupt events and act like a bunch of whiny babies. And they're the only ones who pull stunts like this. Now, I've only seen on the other side, on our side, somebody interrupt an event like this, and it was Hillary Clinton. And this guy, he actually shouts out, "Why did your husband, Bill Clinton, why was he on flights like 27 something times?" And we know now with the unsealed court documents that Bill Clinton was on this flight or with Jeffrey Epstein, or at least taking a private plane with Jeffrey Epstein, at times without his security detail, without Secret Service. He dismissed the Secret Service. He goes, "I'm going to go by myself with Jeffrey on this private plane." And he did this like over 20 times. Now, without his Secret Service detail, it was less. But yeah, so this guy interrupts Hillary Clinton's little campaign, but like rightfully so. We're talking about sex trafficking, and this guy isn't locked up. Bill Clinton. Okay. They all need to be locked up. But that's the only time I've seen somebody do it on our side. Typically, it's the leftists who pull these sort of stunts and will do anything. Um, and they won't do anything positive for their cause. They only do negative things for their cause. For example, blocking traffic or interrupting events like this. They typically do negative things for their causes, which I don't understand. If you want to effectively change people's hearts and minds, you would do something that doesn't peeve off a bunch of people. But anyway, you are entitled to peacefully assemble and make your grievances heard. You have no right to disrupt the peace. Okay. And this heckler did. And he disrupted a bunch of cowboys. And the result did not go as planned, obviously. Honestly, oh, what on earth did the heckler think the reaction was going to be? You go in there, you start to heckle. What did you think the reaction would be? That they were just going to hold hands and scream ceasefire together? These cowboys, they were going to say ceasefire, a ceasefire. Israel is defending themselves, by the way. But this is how you know these people are mentally incompetent. Okay, their minds cannot grasp the future consequences of their actions. And well, he could be extremely ignorant, and just thought wrong. That's fine. Either way, he's arrogant, and that's saying the very least about this guy. Maybe you just thought wrong. Um, I don't think there has ever been a cause that has successfully been heard by a bunch of boneheads who decided to act like immature brats. Okay. I do not listen to your causes because you act like a bunch of immature brats. Now, you know, the moral of the story here is just don't mess with Texas. Just don't do it. All right. I do have to take a quick break. You're listening to The Morning Buzz. So much to get to here in the 6 o'clock hour. Then in the 7 o'clock hour, it's Patriot Power Plug. Today is Tuesday. Go ahead and find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. I'm back next. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're watching, smash that like button on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Retweet this, share this out with your friends. Yes, Henry. Yesterday at the end of my show, I did smile because I thought it was very funny when I was talking about Joe Biden, and I was like, how does he eat ice cream that way? He just like shoves the entire cone into his mouth, and here I am. I'm thinking to myself, whoa, wait a second. Isn't he gonna get a brain freeze? Who eats ice cream like that? And, you said, brain freeze? I think he lacks a brain. That cracked me up. So thank you for that. We're back. It's so cold out there. I am just so ready for this cold spell to be over with. I think after today, it's going to get a little bit warmer, just a tad warmer. And then there's going to be a heat wave this weekend, right? Because it's going to be 20 degrees warmer than what it was last weekend. Sunday, the town of Lincoln, where I'm from, uh, where I live, they experienced like the coldest temperature since 1957. See, this is what boggles my mind. People are like, this has never happened before, and they're freaking out. This has happened for like since the 1950s. Like 1957 was the last time. Yeah, sure. But yeah, we get extreme cold. I mean, I last year I remember walking when it's this cold, like I refuse to go to the store. I will starve if I don't have anything in my home to eat. I will refuse to go to a Walmart because for some odd reason Walmart's, there is like no other building to be seen within miles, and it's just like this windy, gusty. The parking lot is never plowed, so it's just miserable to go to the store. So, yeah, I remember last year I went to a Walmart and it was like below. Like it was -40 with the wind chill, and I was like, "Oh, this is miserable." And since then, I've never gone into a Walmart unless it's, absolutely necessary when it's like this outside. So on our web page, you can find it, cities99.com. We've got a list of school closures, cancellations, District 87, Unit 5. They're both closed today. Unit 5, they're not doing remote learning, and District 87 is doing remote learning. There's all kinds of Hayworth School, they're doing remote learning. Calvary Christian, they're closed today. So find it all on cities99.com. Before we took the break, I was telling you guys a little bit about Nikki Haley, her coming in second. I want to clarify something. She came in second in this Johnson County. Okay. Trump, he won 98 out of the or 99 out of the, oh gosh, what is it? Hang on. There's 99 counties. I want to make sure I get this number right. Yes. He won 98 out of the 99 counties in Iowa. And Nikki Haley was the only other candidate to win an entire county. She came in second in Johnson County. She flipped Johnson County with a single vote over Trump. So she flipped it. Ron DeSantis did come in second overall. I want to make sure I clarify that. Yes, Ron DeSantis came in second overall, very, very narrowly. He was a distant second, came in a very distant second because Donald Trump just ran away with this thing. Um, and he was followed very closely by the South Carolina governor, Nikki Haley. So Vivek Ramaswamy ended his presidential campaign and he endorsed Donald Trump after coming in fourth. So, hats off to Vivek Ramaswamy. That takes a lot of courage. I'm not shocked that he did it because he has ran his campaign as an America First candidate. He has been relentless, charismatic, and he has proved himself to be bright, and he's run his campaign on the truth, even though the truth might be hard sometimes, saying that Ukraine is not a democracy, saying that they persecute Christians and they prosecute Christians over in Ukraine. That's not an easy thing to talk about because you will get canceled. But no matter how hard the truth is, Vivek Ramaswamy has always just told the truth. And he sees the writing on the wall. He's not going to be the nominee. So he dropped out and he endorsed President Donald Trump. So Yeah, we are going to be talking about this trans law professor who has a tattoo. It says "Be gay and do crimes," which I mean, I think that means what it says. But this guy was appointed to the WHO task force. He's supposed to create guidelines on gender, and we're going to get to that guy here in just a second. But all morning I've been teasing it, and you guys are asking questions, so we'll get into it. Now I found out via Twitter. This was, circulating that Joe Biden possibly could be off of the ballot in the March 19th primary here in the state of Illinois. How is that possible? Well, there's a couple of objections that I want to run through. Objection number one comes from Terry Newsom, Shane Bouvet, Timothy Conrad, and Peggy Hubbard. Okay, they ISB the Illinois State Board of Elections. They're going to be having a hearing on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. In attendance will be Shane Bouvet, Timothy Conrad, and Terry Newsom. However, in these court documents, Peggy Hubbard is also named. She's a radio broadcaster, and she's a former U.S. Senate candidate in the Metro St. Louis area. So that's where she's out of. And yes, they are going after President Joe Biden because he swore an oath to support the Constitution of the United States. Biden has given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, so to the enemies of the United States, and this disqualifies him from public office, and they are using the 14th Amendment. Doesn't this sound kind of familiar? So the document, um, this court document, the crux of the lawsuit here is it's all based off that section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and I recommend you go read the 14th Amendment. It's very specific in the language, and it says anybody who has sworn an oath to support the Constitution of the United States. Now, the 14th Amendment does not apply to the president. There is an argument to be made here because if you go listen to Donald Trump's oath, the inaugural address where in 2017 he takes the oath of office, the president's oath is very different than that of a senator, a U.S. senator, or the vice president, even because it does not use the language that the 14th Amendment lays out, an oath to support the Constitution. The president does not take an oath to support the Constitution. To preserve, protect, and defend, I think, is the language of the oath. You can go look that up in your spare time. 2017, what Donald Trump exactly said, and he did not swear an oath to support the Constitution. Who did? Joe Biden did 9 times. Well, how did he take that oath? Well, he was a U.S. senator and he was the vice president, and their oath is different than of the U.S. president. So I think the 14th Amendment might actually apply to Joe Biden because he has taken that oath. And he has intentionally declined to enforce the laws of the United States. And he has provided aid and comfort to our enemies. Just look at the border. Now there is a list of documents that this lawsuit provides: Exhibit A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, H, I, J, K. But there's like four. I think there's four exhibits. Hey, let's bring this into evidence. This is proof that he is aiding and comforting our enemies. And I'm sure one of them looks at, and I haven't dug into the exhibits themselves, but I have looked at the lawsuit, read through it. I'm sure one of these exhibits talk about how Joe Biden left uh, weaponry and billions of dollars. I think it was $75 billion worth of weaponry in Afghanistan when he withdrew for the Taliban to use against us later. So this is happening in Iraq. There's people in Iraq, and they're using the weapons, the Taliban, against our men and women, our soldiers. So this is one objection where they use the 14th Amendment. Now, there's a whole other objection that I like better. I don't really like this because this sets a weird precedent. They're using the 14th Amendment against President Donald Trump. They're trying to use that, saying that he committed an insurrection. And obviously, Joe Biden hasn't been charged nor convicted of treason. Okay, but what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? If they're using the 14th Amendment against President Donald Trump, although he has not been charged nor convicted of insurrection, we can do that to Joe Biden, who has not been charged nor convicted of treason. So we'll talk about this here coming up. Constitutionally disqualified to run for president. That is what this group of Illinois citizens is saying. Now, there's a totally separate objection to Joe Biden and his candidacy. I want to talk about that here next on the Buzz. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you're watching, smash that like button. I see you watching. You got to smash the like button. That really helps us out here at Cities 92.9. If you want me to continue to provide content, you've got to hit the like button. So, we are going to be talking about objections to President Joe Biden being on the Illinois primary ballot. That's March 19th, folks. And there's a couple of objections I want to get to. I already got to the first objection. We'll touch on that lightly in the next hour. But this second objection is my favorite. So this comes from Beth Finley Smith. Beth Finley Smith is out of Salmonock. She is also a county board district 4. She's in District 4 up there. She's a county board member. Okay. And she is a precinct committeeman. She is a leader in multiple political organizations. And she did her homework, and as she always does, and she's objected to several people not being on the ballot. There's all kinds of these little things about the election code and the election law where when you're submitting your petition papers, there is a process, and Joe Biden didn't follow that process. So let's talk about it. Objection number 2 is my favorite by far. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. Cities99.com. You can find all the school closings and cancellations. We've got Calverley Christian Academy. They are closed today. We've got D87, Unit 5. They're closed. D87 is actually doing a remote learning day. You've got Clinton School District closed, Cornerstone Christian Academy, I think I said that one, closed, Calverley Christian Academy closed, Illinois State University closed. We've got U High closed, ISU Laboratory Schools, which includes Thomas Metcalf, U High, all closed. Olympia closed. Leroy closed. Pontiac closed. We've got Prairie Central closed. So there's a lot of schools that are closed today due to the dangerous temperatures. Yes, it's pretty cold out there. I'm freezing. My nose is cold, and my face is chapped, and my lips are chapped. I've got my chapstick in studio today. When we come back, we're going to be talking about objection number 2, hopefully. And then we'll also visit with Mike Coolidge for Patriot Power Plug. He's a conservative powerhouse here in the state of Illinois and the Ogle County Republican chair. So we're back next on the Morning Buzz. Good morning. Hi. Biden's off the ballot in possibly in a I'm very excited about this. I really want him off the ballot. And I think that we can do it with this second objection. So we're going to get into it here coming up in just a little bit. You're watching The Morning Buzz on Cities 92.9. Hit the like button, share this out with your friends. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in each and every day. I appreciate it. Go ahead, smash that like button. Biden off the ballot in Illinois. There's a couple of objections that I kind of want to run through with Mike. We're going to talk about the Iowa caucuses. I'm not shocked. Okay. So when I saw Donald Trump giving pizzas out to these Iowa firefighters, I was like, okay, the guy's having a slice of za. He's kicking back. He's already celebrating. So Trump not shocked that he won all pretty much all the counties. There was one county, Johnson County, and then Nikki Haley came in first in that county. It was a very liberal county, but she only won by 1 vote, folks. And Ron DeSantis, like, I don't know, folks. I don't know. He is kind of a sore loser, and it's kind of off-putting. He knew he lost well before the caucuses even happened last night, and I think it's because like there was this guy, and we'll get to the clip. Hopefully, he brought out a participation trophy to a campaign event and was kind of trolling Ron DeSantis, and he did not find it funny at all. And you can see it on his face how upset he was. And I thought there was a better way to handle that. I heard that he kicked somebody out in a wheelchair from one of his campaign events, as well. So, like, not a good look. And I think he's kind of a sore loser. And it kind of sucks because I really thought that Ron would have a political future, but he's destroyed any chance of that. So I'm back next. Woohoo! Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Today is Tuesday, Patriot Power Plug. I love Patriot Power Plug, and you guys are going to want to stick around for the 8 o'clock hour because today is Tax Tip Tuesday. Tax Tip Tuesday with Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus. I'm so excited because it's tax season, and we've got to pay Uncle Sam. But Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus, he is all things taxes, and I'm telling you, nobody gets more excited talking about exemptions, deductions, credits than this guy, Rick Johnson. And no, he's not center stage at any kind of cocktail party, but he's in his element at Tax and Accounting Plus, and he's going to be joining me at about 8:06 on the Morning Buzz Tax Tip Tuesdays. We're going to try this out. Mike Coolidge, let me pull you up here. Mike Coolidge, he's a conservative powerhouse here in the state of Illinois, ran for Congress, a former Army officer, and the Ogle County Republicans chair. Mike, I know your connection is probably good, but I've been having issues with this pod here, so some background, I'm peeling the curtain back for our listeners here. I've been having issues, so we'll see how it goes.
I visually look okay in the StreamYard app. Am I coming okay online or no?
We're gonna have to have you call in. I'm so sorry. It's it's spice. Last week I thought it was on Mike's end, and now this week it's on my end, folks. With this pod, it's an issue. I can't play audio today either. So, but we are going to get to a video clip, and I'll describe what happened to with Donald Trump. He's handing out pizzas at the Iowa caucuses, and he's like celebrating before the caucuses even happen. He's sitting there having a slice of za. So, Mike Coolidge, let's talk a little bit about the caucuses first, and then we'll get into the objections to Joe Biden being on the primary ballot in the state of Illinois. Mike, you there?
Yes, I'm here. And it was not that much of a shocker last night. The threshold that the narrative was, oh my gosh, is Trump going to get over 50%? Wouldn't have mattered if he gotten 47, 48, 49. It is a trouncing, biggest gap in history. He wound up with 51%. And should be noted too, President Trump only spent $20 million in Iowa. DeSantis and Haley spent $30 million each. And Ramaswamy, as we know, dropped out last night and endorsed President Trump, even though there was a little bit of a spat over the weekend, at least coming from President Trump, encouraging Vivek voters not to vote for Vivek and to vote for Trump. But, Vivek took the high road and said, I'm still supporting you, President Trump. We got to win this thing. So I think we'll see a future for him, if not on the campaign, in a Trump cabinet next year. I'm all for that. I think Vivek held himself high, and more than anything else, the most important thing is his arguments brought people who maybe weren't involved in the 2015 and 2016 Trump world into it now. I mean, we forget, Kat, you in 2015, 2016, you were not on the radio, right? You were in college, if I remember correctly, right?
I graduated high school in 2017.
Well, there you go. You're in high school in 20, but that is such a great point. Like now you are a powerhouse in politics and here in Illinois in the conservative world. And there are so many people like you and people just a little bit older than you who have only just started getting involved. And one of the biggest things that Donald Trump did in 2015 and 2016 is he brought new people into politics. It wasn't just people in the Golden Counties going from Democrat to Trump, or voters who always vote, and this time they gave this Trump guy a shot. No, there were millions of people who had never voted before in their lives. I'm talking about middle-aged people and even baby boomers who got involved because of Trump. Well, that is what is going to need to happen even more so now, because the Democrats are pulling out all stops. Biden's got more money than any other candidate in his position right now, even though his ratings are in the tank. And obviously, Trump has the advantage polling wise over Biden. We can't get complacent. They are going to do absolutely everything they can to make him look palatable and appealing, which he's not. And don't forget, too, that Barack Obama fella has a lot of time on his hands to help Biden, and he's going to. And so all this operational stuff, the ballot harvesting, the registering people and more ballot harvesting, that's going to happen on the left side. So we need to do everything in our power to not just counter that, but beat that. And really, it kind of starts right now. I mean, literally right now, it's clearly going to be Trump. Let's get going.
Yeah. Well, and, Trump and Vivek Ramaswamy, I think they were reaching voters that were non-voter, like never voted before in their life. And people, gave them all kinds of backlash for not participating in, the traditional media sphere, going on these talk shows or going on mainstream media and having interviews, sit downs at the desk in the morning, right? Vivek, I think, shot down a lot of those and decided to go the different direction and, be on podcast, alternative news, and then the UFC fights, right? Donald Trump going to the UFC fight. That's that kind of voter that has never voted before. And Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, they have this ability to draw those people into politics. But yeah, you're so right. And now is the time, which brings me to Beth Smith and her objection. So I already talked a little bit about the objection with the 14th Amendment and Joe Biden. So let me get your take on it, Mike Coolidge. The first objection, where they're saying that, hey, Biden actually is aiding and comforting the enemies of the United States. He swore an oath to support the Constitution. And the 14th Amendment says that he can't hold public office. Your thoughts about this ragtag group of voters? It's just Illinois voters. I don't think they're connected in any kind of way. They're just all Republican voters, I think, who have waged this objection against President Joe Biden being on the Illinois ballot in March.
Yeah, go for it. It is awesome. We need more of it. We need to throw as much spaghetti at the wall as possible and see what sticks, because guess what? That's what they have done. It's almost because I mean, the Democrats and the power structure and all of these frivolous, idiotic, completely baseless charges against Trump. You still have these people on mainstream news outlets talking about 93 charges against Trump. It's all baloney. The charges in New York about him, the real estate fraud stuff, it's all complete and utter made up baloney. If you've ever sold real estate, commercial real estate, I have not at the level that Donald Trump has. I've sold property before, but Donald Trump is and has been for decades part of the real estate world, not just in New York City, but elsewhere. And anyway, the sort of things that he was accused of are not only not against the law, but are the standard way that all real estate occurs. Literally all, not in a weird sector, not in a like kind of black market sector. No, all real estate, all commercial real estate. So he was just doing things, saying my property is worth a lot. You should buy it because it's worth a lot. And here's how it is. And these idiots who haven't done anything at all in their lives as far as real estate goes in the legal world in New York they got him into court at least. And they actually have him having him to defend himself and spend all this money defending himself and not out on the campaign trail campaigning. That is what the goal of this all was. None of all this stuff's going to be thrown out. He's not going to go to jail, Donald Trump, but the system is gummed up with this sort of thing. And you know what? That sort of fight fire with fire, that needs to happen on our side too. So the legal, efficacy or the legal value of these different lawsuits. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what's going to happen and it's funny too. Jack Lombardi, he ran against me. He and I were opponents in the Republican primary in the 14th, and he and I became friends afterwards. We're very friendly. We had very similar sort of people that were voting for us. And anyway, so I saw his name and Beth Smith, I know very well too. She's a county board member in LaSalle County who's doing this and has a lot of people supporting this. I say, more power to them and go, keep trying it.
Go get them.
Some of this stuff, yeah.
You bring up that
it might be.
I don't like the first objection so much. I'm going to say that. And I don't really think that the people who are on that lawsuit like it so much. But I mean, from my perspective, the 14th Amendment definitely applies to Joe Biden. He has sworn an oath 9 times to support the Constitution. I talked about how the president, he takes a different oath of office, and he doesn't say the words support the Constitution. I solemnly swear to support the Constitution. The oath that the president takes is completely different than that of those who wear an oath to support the Constitution, which are VPs, U.S. senators, yada, yada. So I think he actually has, but here's where I get all caught up. Joe Biden hasn't been charged with treason nor convicted. And and same with Donald Trump. He hasn't been charged with insurrection nor convicted of insurrection. I don't like the precedent that this sets, that we can just, abandon, charging people with crimes and saying, so what's next? The president is accused of murder and you know what I mean? Like, and he gets no trial, no charges, and he can be, I don't think murder disqualifies a president under the 14th Amendment, but still, I don't like it. I don't like the way it sets this precedent, but I do think that he has he has provided aid and comfort to enemies of the United States. That's very clear.
Yes,
Joe Biden.
I mean, if that is proven in a court of law in some way, that is providing aid and comfort to the enemy is treason. I mean, so, and that's a whole other ball of wax to talk about. But again, I mean, I'm looking at this as political combat. Honestly, I'm not looking at this as the legal, because the legal ground that the stuff against Trump is on is not even shaky. It's like water. It doesn't exist. It's not even like mud, And so it's like, and we on the right are just, I love your approach to it, because you're doing it in a principled way. Wait a second. Was the law actually violated here? Yes. That's how we all should think about every law. The Lady Justice is blind. We're a nation of laws. Certain laws shouldn't apply to some people and not to others. Hunter Biden comes to mind. That's absolutely how it should work. And that's what judges and jurors and Supreme Court justices should all consider. Yeah. Those of us in the political world and in the political combat world, though, who see the effect that these attacks on Trump are having, at least to throw a monkey wrench into his operations, I look at and say, yes, we're different than them, they're going low. Do we go lower? Do we stay high? To use the old, Obama phrases. And I'm kind of like, again, purely in the political combat world, not in the legal and constitutional world. I say, let's see, what can be done here. And I'm not going to. Let's put it this way: I'm not going to discourage people from filing these lawsuits and attempting to get this kind of stuff happen. And if it's wrong, and if it's thrown out, and if the judge looks at it and says, no, so be it. But we all have a right to petition the government for our grievances. That is absolutely within every one of our rights. So,
well,
again,
it's like this. If you go into a fight with a blind guy, right? The blind guy, I think it would be fair to blindfold the other person, right? It's like we're just putting the blindfold on the other person, to even out the fight, because
no one is accusing Joe Biden is senile and very close to it, but no one's accusing him of being blind yet. So I think you should pump the brakes there a little bit.
Yeah. Well, objection number 2. I don't know if you've got time, but I want to get to Beth Smith's objection. So the notarization objection. So Joe Biden, he got his nominating petition or his petitions notarized in the state of Illinois. I guess there's a law that says you have to, and you would know this because you're a former candidate.
And I collected signatures and got them for Trump. I'm very familiar with the notarization process.
Yeah, so you have to get it notarized by somebody who is commissioned in the state of Illinois, according to state statute. And Joe Biden didn't, neither did Donald Trump, but here we are. Nobody objected to Donald Trump's filing petition or his papers. Now we've got Beth Smith. She actually filed an objection to Joe Biden because he got his papers notarized by somebody out of DC. So yeah, this is a totally separate objection to the Biden being on the ballot, and I like this one because there's even court precedent. So I guess in 2003 there was some guy in the state of Illinois. He had his petition notarized by somebody out of Missouri. I think he was a candidate in St. Louis. So he had somebody, I mean, that's just like a hop, skip, and away in St. Louis, right?
If that's the law, if that's what the rule says, and yeah, Illinois is famous for throwing out candidate petitions if they don't have staples in the right place or the numbers on the bottom of the page properly. They're notorious for this. You know who the most famous story in Illinois history is? Good old Barack Obama. He got his first state Senate opponent, who was a sitting state senator, a black female state senator in the south side of Chicago, who he ran against. David Axelrod and Barack Obama, when they're in their 30s, got that sitting woman, her petitions thrown out because of some technicality, and he ran unopposed in the primary, this challenger, Barack Obama, and the rest is history. So if this is true, I didn't look at the petitions, I didn't see the notarization stuff, but if that's true, and that indeed is against the election code, and especially if Trump's weren't if his weren't challenged by anyone, he is on the ballot. That challenge period's over with. But if Biden, that there could be something to that for sure, Kat. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that.
Precedent. I mean, this has already happened. The Illinois Appellate Court already ruled on this in 2003, and they knocked the guy off the ballot because he did the exact same thing. He got his notarized by some guy who was commissioned out of Missouri. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited for that one because I'm sick and tired that here locally in McLean County, I don't know what exact, I can't remember, but I know the Dems, they objected to petitions of Republican county board members who didn't number their petitions. So
it happens all the time. Yeah. I had my ballots challenged. It was completely frivolous. My petitions, they were all perfect. There were no problems with them. But you challenge them again. It's a very small political combat. You challenge it to gum up the system. I had to hire a lawyer $1,000 to file the response to the challenge. That's $1,000 that I could have used on yard signs or on something else. So yeah, it's a form of but this one that Beth Smith filed, again, if it has precedence, and I only very recently looked into it, but I haven't looked into the details of it.
Mhm.
I'm going to predict that the Democrats will pull, like kind of like what they did in 2020. Well, the spirit of we're going to change things here, even though we haven't changed the laws. Like these secretaries of states, and we're going to change the way ballots are counted and all that. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's
well,
that
that's my next question was, in Colorado, the Supreme Court, they knocked Donald Trump off of the ballot. They wanted him off the ballot. And then I think the Colorado Secretary of State said, screw you, Colorado Supreme Court, we're going to put Trump on anyway. So Alexi Giuliana's Orange Julius, he's probably going to say, well, we're just going to put Biden on anyway.
Yeah, it's possible. They have no shame, absolutely no shame. The Democrats in Illinois, and yeah, they might do that and wonder if no one even notices, because they control everything else anyway, including the media. So they might be like, oh, listen to these Republican chirpers on their radio shows and on their online stuff talking about the Illinois Biden ballot thing. Isn't that silly? Meanwhile, it actually sounds like it has, validity to it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mike Coolidge, thank you so much for joining me here on The Buzz. Until next time, my friend, you have a great rest of the day.
Have a great week.
All right. Folks, we're going to be back here talking about Donald Trump and him passing out pizzas at the caucuses. I'm back next. Oh, this is so cringy, and I almost don't want to share this clip with you, but I'm gonna have to. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in each and every day to Cities 92.9, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the show here. You can find it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Subscribe to my YouTube channel today. You won't want to miss out on all the content that I share weekly on that channel. It's Cat Peterson 99. We're gonna meet with Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus. He lives and breathes and eats taxes, folks. Okay, I mean, what kind of guy gets excited about describing exemptions, credits, and deductions? It's Rick Johnson. Now he's not the center. He's not the center of at the cocktail parties. Okay, he's not center stage, but he's so in his element at Tax and Accounting Plus, and he's going to be joining me in the 8 o'clock hour for Tax Tip Tuesdays. They're back. If you have a question for Rick, he'll be happy to answer them directly. Email him at rick@taxaccountingplus.com. Find it on our webpage. That's cities929.com. While you're at our webpage, you can find the warming centers. Yes, there's warming centers and services available to you during this freezing weather. The city wants to make sure that everybody has access to safe and warm places. Bloomington Public Library, Connect Transit Bus, parking, a lot of the McLean County Health Department, Walmart Meyer, Normal Public Library, Uptown Station. You can find an interactive map at cities929.com. Also, there you will find our closing and cancellations, delays, things like that going on today because of the dangerous temperatures. Clinton School District closed, McLean County Unit 5, Bloomington District 87, Cornerstone Christian Academy, Pontiac, Leroy, Prairie Central, Olympia, Hayworth. Illinois State University is closed today. Then their laboratory schools are closed. Thomas Metcalf, U High, and then Calvary Christian Academy, no school today. So go check out the details on cities929.com. Before we took the break, we were talking a little bit about the objections. Beth Smith, way to go. I think that this is an interesting objection. And I think it's a better objection. I'm just going to say that that's my opinion. Now, I do like the first objection because it's kind of, flipping off the left and saying, hey, you guys are a bunch of hypocrites. We're going to turn around the 14th Amendment and we're going to use it against Joe Biden, which there's an argument to be had here that the 14th Amendment actually applies to Joe Biden because he swore an oath 9 times both as a U.S. Senator and the VP to support the Constitution. The president does not take an oath to support the Constitution. Rather, his oath is different, and he doesn't use that language that's laid out in the 14th Amendment. Read the 14th Amendment. Take a listen to the 2017 inaugural address where Donald Trump actually swears in on a Bible. And yeah, you will not hear him swear an oath to support the Constitution, which this amendment might not apply to the president. So we're going to chat about that here a little bit later, maybe in the 8 o'clock hour. Right now, I do want to get to this story. This law professor is now been appointed to this trans board for the World Economic or for the World Health Organization. So when you hear the phrase be gay and do crimes, what do you think that means? Because it's unclear how doing crimes is not usually seen as something lawyers condone. Okay, it's unclear, but I think that doing crimes is actually seen by lawyers as something that's not good. Okay, this is a trans lawyer and a law professor or a trans law professor who has that phrase tattooed on himself. So he has a tattoo that says, be gay, do crimes. But the reason this story exists is not because he has that tattoo, okay, this law professor. It's because he has that tattoo and he was appointed to a task force by the World Health Organization, and he's supposed to be developing these guidelines for trans and gender diverse people. So, according to the College Fix, this is a publication, a Canadian transgender professor. He's a law professor who supports a be gay and sports a be gay, do crimes tattoo, has it on his arm. And he was recently appointed to this task force the World Health Organization has to try to create guidelines for transgender and gender diverse people. So Florence Ashley is the assistant law professor at the University of Alberta. And there's 21 people on this task force. I think all transgender people like ever are on this task force because half of these individuals who were appointed to this new task force set up by the World Health Organization, half of them are transgender. There's not a whole lot of transgender folks out there, folks. Ashley, uh, Florence Ashley uses they, them pronouns. That's according to the Post Millennial. There was a scheduled to meet in February. This task force, they're scheduled to meet with each other, these 21 folks who are half transgender, by the way. And they're going to meet in February to discuss the goal of developing international guidelines that will increase access and utilization of quality and respectful health services by trans and gender diverse people. Okay. That's according to a December 18th announcement by the World Health Organization. I don't even understand what the tattoo means, but I think it means what it says, if I had to guess. So let's take a listen. I think this clip will play. Here we go.
Remember when like libs of TikTok, Jordan Peterson, and etc. got really pissed at me for saying, as a criminal law professor, I feel compelled to tell you to be gay, do crimes on my TikTok. Well, guess what I did about it? Oh yeah, I got a be gay, do crimes tattoo about it. That's what I did about it. If they thought that was going to get me to back down, they know nothing at all about me. No. Their hatred just makes me be gay and do crimes even harder, including by now having a permanent be gay, do crimes tattoo on my arm.
Wow. Such bravery. He or she or they showed this tattoo to conservatives. Just imagine how his or her students feel having to listen to that voice for hours every week. What a miserable experience. I feel deeply for these children and for these students anyway, because he's a college professor. I feel deeply for those college students. Okay. So, according to the Post Millennial, Ashley, she's a criminal law assistant professor at the University of Alberta and is on board with that, believing that puberty blockers ought to be treated as the default option for all minors, regardless of gender identity, so kids can choose their gender instead of growing up naturally and without intervention, because natural development strongly favors cis embodiment by raising the psychological and medical toll of transitioning. So this person is so whacked out that he thinks that every single minor before you hit puberty, you should be on puberty blockers, and that should be the default option because if you go through puberty, you're more likely to embody a cisgender or a cisgender. It's not even a real word. You're more likely to be straight, or you're more likely to identify with your biological sex if you go through puberty. It's almost like biology wants you to go through with your biological sex, and that's what puberty is designed to do. Anyway, yeah, this person is a whack job. And it's no surprise that the WHO, they have this person appointed on this task force. It's a joke of an organization, to put it politely, but its priorities are incomprehensible with the fact that they appointed someone who believes that chemical castration should be the default medical intervention for children struggling to accept their gender. They think that every child, or this person, believes that every kid should be on puberty blockers. That's incredibly sad for kids who are not even old enough to consent to these procedures. I mean, it's arguably pure evil, and that these unelected global bureaucrats are deciding that doctors should be experimenting with Frankenstein procedures on children. Okay, these are Frankenstein procedures. This is disturbing. Why do unelected degenerates get to decide what the default procedure is? Medicine and science are not something that should be decided this way. It's not one size fits all sort of thing. And the fact that this is all justified, I mean, This is just wild. And this person is a lawyer. A trans person. Isn't this trans person a lawyer? Why on earth is he or she, whatever you want to call they, uh, he, she, they, why on earth is he deciding what the default intervention should be? Shouldn't we, I don't know, get somebody who is, well, a doctor? Why are we consulting a lawyer? I don't even know if this person's a lawyer or a law. He's a professor, a criminal law assistant professor. Maybe he's a lawyer. I don't know. But that said, I still don't know what that tattoo means. Be gay, do crimes. I think it means exactly what it says. Be gay and do crimes. As a person's mentally unstable. All right, I do have to talk about Donald Trump. He was passing out pizzas yesterday. It's a great clip. I'm back next. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're watching, go ahead and smash the like button. We are going to be back talking a little bit about Donald Trump and how he was passing out pizzas right before the polls, or right before the Iowa caucuses. And I'm excited because this is energizing, and Vivek Ramaswamy has dropped out of the race and is endorsed President Donald Trump. So I'm back next. So there are many differences between Trump and the regular career politician. One, Trump got rich before he got into politics, whereas, career politicians, it's the other way around. When I say career politician, Dick Durbin comes to mind. We've got Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell. Okay, two, Trump truly loves his supporters. And that is not obvious with people like Sleepy Joe. I have never met a hand on the Bible. I've never met somebody who's excited about Joe Biden and truly um, has support for Joe Biden and is supportive of Joe Biden. The big difference between him in the current president is that he delivers pizza to first responders in a frigid Iowa. It's very cold in Iowa as well. The first Trump rally I ever went to was actually in Iowa, and it is frigid in Iowa, much like Illinois here. But I don't know. There was this, I think Iowa, there was where I was at anyway. There was like this tiny little hill we were on, and there was just no buildings in sight for miles, and it was freezing. Now, Donald Trump is out there delivering pizzas to first responders in frigid Iowa temperatures. And Joe Biden, he can barely pick up his own ice cream cone. He can barely order ice cream. Still, this is the question on my mind. Who and why? How does he eat the ice cream cone like he does? He literally, like, it's not like nibbling on the cone and then licking the ice cream like normal people eat an ice cream cone. He inhales this thing. Like, I've seen him inhale an ice cream cone practically, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, does he get brain freeze? Like, is he okay? But according to the Gazette, former President Donald Trump was spotted delivering pizzas to a local fire department in Iowa on the eve of the state caucuses for the 2024 election. The pizza restaurant Trump visited was a local Casey's convenience store. So he got Casey's pizza, with a Casey's employee telling Trump that the pizza is the best you'll ever have, that the pizza is the best you're ever going to have. The former president then visited this fire department, and there's footage of him online carrying a stack of pizzas to these firefighters. He's carrying them, and he hands them out and he says, "Good luck, everybody." And he enjoyed a slice of pizza himself. He goes, "This is good pizza, by the way." Joining Trump was Doug Burgum of North Dakota, the Republican, right? Who I always used to say looked like like Dracula. This guy is super, super white, like pasty, very, very like. And Doug Burgum, he's got these crazy eyebrows. He was a presidential candidate, if you didn't know that, for a little bit of time, but he was the first presidential candidate to endorse President Donald Trump. Now we've got Vivek Ramaswamy endorsing President Donald Trump, and Senator Mark Rubio also has endorsed Trump, by the way. So the Iowa caucus is a major event in the Republican 2024 primary. And Donald Trump, he won 98 out of 99 counties in Iowa, and Nikki flipped Johnson County with a single vote, okay, over Trump. So she got second in that county. And Ron DeSantis, I think, is a very sore loser. I'm going to get to a couple of clips, but he barely got second, folks. Barely got second overall in this caucus, and I'm not shocked by that because the guy is just so inauthentic, and he's like he's homeless. The never Trumpers. So everybody behind Nikki, they're never Trumpers. I think like 40% of Chris Christie's voters went over to Nikki Haley. A few others went over to Vivek and Ron, but none of them went over to Donald Trump, by the way, because Christie is a never Trumper. Nikki Haley She's drawing this never Trumper crowd. She's also probably drawing a lot of Democrats who refuse to vote for Joe Biden because he is he's a dementia riddled man, and Democrats can't even bring themselves to vote for him. So they are jumping ship and they are voting for Nikki Haley because they are just that never Trump. So uh, Ron DeSantis, he was approached by this guy, and I don't know if the clip is going to work, but I'm going to try it. Ron DeSantis, he got a participation trophy from a fellow who came to one of his campaign events. And to watch Ron DeSantis is probably the most cringy. This is the most cringy response to this he could have had. Ron DeSantis clearly was upset, and he was sore about this guy kind of giving him a participation trophy. Let's take a listen.
Real quick before we get started, thank you everyone. Governor DeSantis, I want to present to you this participation trophy. Now, probably not going to win the election, right? But we're proud of you for trying. There you go. Sorry, sorry, buddy. Sorry. He's special, he's unique, and he's our little snowflake. Here you go. Did you want to?
He's our little snowflake. So you can actually physically see Ron DeSantis reaches his hand out in a very robotic way, and he goes to go shove this guy who, is trolling him. And, he has a short fuse, Ron DeSantis does. He's got a very short fuse. And look, I don't know why Haley is scoring so high. Ron should as the next America First, because he's not America First, folks. But you would think that Ron DeSantis would have gotten an easy second, but he came in at a distant second and barely. Nikki Haley was so close at taking him out as the runner-up, Brent. So, she's probably the most unlikable out of the Republican candidates. It makes no sense how she would be doing better than Ron DeSantis. I mean, overall, she did win a county in Iowa. She came in second or third overall for the caucuses, but she did win a county. Ron DeSantis didn't even win a county. So it either makes no sense or it makes perfect sense. I'm going to try to play this clip here. This is Darren Beatty and Vivek Ramaswamy talking about Nikki Haley, and it's a very dark but yet plausible theory. And here we go. Let's take a listen.
But what is the plan here? Do you think, well, first of all, do you think the regime is smart enough to understand that they would be better off with Nikki Haley than Joe Biden? Because it could potentially appease conservative voters, say, hey, you won this time, but in fact, they're getting...
Okay, that's not working out the way I would like it to, but technical difficulties. I'm going to just sum it up. So Darren Beatty and Vivek Ramaswamy, they say that Nikki Haley could possibly be this Democrat they're trying to install, Nikki Haley. So Democrats are trying to install Nikki Haley as the nominee, which isn't going to happen, by the way, folks, but they're trying to install Nikki Haley as the nominee because they would, Haley versus Biden, if it came down to Haley versus Biden, they don't care if Joe Biden at that rate or Nikki Haley gets the nomination. All right, I do have to take a quick break. You're listening to The Morning Buzz, Cities 92.9. Woo! Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. Closing, cancellations, and delays all on cities929.com. You guys can go ahead and find those closures. We've got Clinton School District, they're closed. Bloomington District 87, Unit 5, Pontiac, Cornerstone Christian Academy, Leroy, Olympia, Prairie Central. We have Hayworth. Illinois State University is actually closed. Calvary Christian Academy. So we're going to be back talking with Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus because Tax Tip Tuesdays are back. I'm excited because he knows all things taxes. That's next. Good morning. Hey, if you're watching, go ahead, smash the like button. We're going to be visiting with Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus. It's tax season, and I'm excited for Joe McGraw. He's running for Congress. He's going to be joining me here at about 8:20. All that and more ahead on the bus. It's so cold out there. Yes, there are tons of schools closed today. Clinton, we've got Unit 5, we've got Bloomington District 87. They're learning remotely today, the D87 kids. Then we've got Cornerstone Christian Academy, Pontiac, Leroy, Prairie Central, Olympia School District. We've got Hayworth, Illinois State University. We've got U-High, Thomas Metcalf. Find the complete list of closures, cancellations, and delays at cities99.com. A little bit later, you will find the podcast for Tax Tip Tuesdays. Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus is visiting with me, and I am so excited because Tax Tip Tuesdays are back. Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus, are you there?
Yes, I am. How you doing, Kat?
Cold. I'm freezing.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I'm in a turtleneck and a sweatshirt, and I am just freezing. But I know you've got some hot topics here for tax season. One of them being that tax season is actually opening up. So when does the IRS start accepting business and personal returns, tax returns?
Okay, well, personal tax returns, I don't know if people notice if they go out on the web and even on some of the IRS website, it's kind of been up and down with different dates people are throwing out there and stuff like that. But the IRS, they finally have decided on a final date. That final date is at the end of January the 29th for personal returns. That's a little later than they've started over the last several years. So please keep in mind that not being able to start until the 29th and accepting returns, that basically cuts out 2 weeks of tax season. So now instead of trying to get all the returns in 3 months, everybody's trying to get them in 2.5 months. So just kind of remember that and be patient. Now, also for business tax returns, they start filing those, accepting those today. So, and by business tax returns, I'm talking about entities, S corps, C corps, LLCs, etc. So they can start accepting those today, personal January 29th. Now, with that being said, you can help out in your own case as well as your preparer is if you prepare yourself a little bit beforehand. Preparers tend to seem to like, if at all possible, and makes it much easier on you if you're organized and you kind of have all your information together at once and not piecemeal, so to speak. In other words, the less times you got to go in to see your preparer or provide him with information, probably the less expensive the return will be, and the more organized you'll be. So I have some suggestions for your listeners out there, Kat, that what they can do to get ready. Because now even though they can't file till the 29th, it doesn't mean that they can't go ahead and get returns set up and ready to go. Okay. In fact, the IRS is allowing preparers to what they call stockpiling. And that's where, even though they can't send, they can go ahead and get returns ready to send. So when the 29th gets here, they can send them all. Now, to help you prepare, one thing that we like to encourage people to do is take a look at your last year's tax return. Most of the time, what you did last year, you'll be doing this year. There might be a few changes, but one of the main things you want to look for, and also maybe even bring to the attention of your preparer, is if you have carryover items. There can be, if you have a business and depreciation, you can have depreciation carried over. Section 179 was part of that depreciation can carry over. You can have losses from sale of stock to carry over from year to year. So you definitely want to have the previous year's tax return with you, especially if it was prepared by a different individual than was preparing it this year. All right. And when you're looking at your last year's tax returns, you're kind of using that as your guide. Just check to see if there are any besides checking to see if there are any carryover items, go ahead and make a list, okay, of like all the information statements. And information statements, that's what they call like your W-2s and 1099s for interest and dividends, for pensions and IRAs and things like that. Just make a list of all those that you're expecting, because you'd be surprised how many people will come in even to our office and they worked just a short time at the very beginning of the tax year, and they forget about that W-2 and they do their taxes, and then they got this little bitty W-2 that comes in a little later and then they have to amend. So like I said, so go ahead and make this list, and then as your items come in, then just kind of mark off your list that you've received that. So that's going to help you be more organized, and that's going to help you not to forget to where it may cause you to have to amend anything on your return. And also, write down any questions you have as you're getting your stuff together. Write down questions you might have for your preparer, because it always happens to many of us when we get in that situation or we're getting our return prepared, we forget the questions that we wanted to ask while we're sitting there if we don't have it written down, because there's other things going on. So write your questions down. Also, you can help out is if you have a new child, or if you haven't provided, or it's a newer preparer, bring your driver's license, bring your social security cards for your kids. And also, there's been a lot of identity theft going on over the past couple of years or so, when the IRS are issuing what they call a PIN number, identity theft PIN number. And what that does is that it does not allow anyone to file a return underneath your name and social security number without having that PIN. So if a lot of people forget that they got that, so make sure that you have provide that PIN or include that PIN on your return, so that your return will make it through just clear sailing with the IRS. And that's my tips for this Tuesday, Kat.
Hey, well, thanks so much, Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus. And real quick, tell me about Tax and Accounting Plus. Tell me what you guys are all about.
Well, we have a little expansion going on. We're almost finished with it. We have another little nonprofit office that we're opening up here in about the next week or so. We've increased our staff to be ready to take on this load of new returns coming in. That's something I'll talk about in further down in the weeks to come, as far as how the industry is being affected a little bit, and as far as with still trying to survive, from the pandemic and things of that nature. So, but you can reach us at taxandaccountingplus.com on the web, or you can send an email to rick@taxandaccountingplus.com, or you can reach us on the phone, the old style way, 309-827-4010. Call if you got a question. We'll be glad to answer. And we hope you guys all have a great, great tax season.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks so much, Rick Johnson. And I'm looking forward to next Tuesday for Tax Tip Tuesdays with Rick Johnson from Tax and Accounting Plus, the guy who lives and breathes taxes. Thanks so much, Rick. You have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Kat.
Stay warm. All right, folks. We are going to be taking a break here in just a couple of minutes, but I do want to get to a quick story coming out of Illinois. Is Joe Biden going to be off the ballot? A question that I'm excited to kind of talk about. There's two objections here that we have got to chat about. And, I am real excited about the second objection. So I guess I'll start there. The second objection is Beth Finley Smith. Now, she's out of Somonauk. Somonauk is kind of my neck of the woods where I grew up a little bit. That's like 15 minutes east of Yorkville. And she is a county board member. She is a leader in all kinds of political organizations. And she has an objection out there. And this objection deals with the notarization process of Joe Biden's petitions. So Joe Biden, all candidates, you have to get petitions, you have to get signatures to get onto the ballot. And those petitions need to be notarized. And according to state law, that needs to be notarized by a notary commissioned out of the state of Illinois. So how did Beth Smith manage to object to his petitions and, get around the fact that Donald Trump also did not have his petitions notarized by a notary commissioned out of Illinois, but rather Florida? So Joe Biden, he had his petitions notarized by somebody out of D.C., commissioned out of D.C. Now, the Illinois state statute, I think it's pretty clear. It says that it has to be a notary out of Illinois, commissioned out of Illinois. And it's not just me saying that. That's the Illinois Appellate Court. That's what they said in a 2003 case against a candidate who had his petitions here in the state of Illinois commissioned and notarized by somebody commissioned out of the state of Missouri. So they kicked him off of the ballot. That was their ruling. They actually kicked him off. The state of Illinois did. This is an interesting thing because it's kind of like a gotcha. Now, how did she do it, Beth Smith? She did some strategy here. She waited until the last moment to file this objection. Now, it doesn't matter, okay? The objection deadline is passed, and it doesn't matter if Donald Trump also did not get his petitions notarized by somebody in the state of Illinois. I think it's interesting, you've got Joe Biden has gobs of money. Donald Trump has a lot of money. And you've got people working on these folks' campaigns. You would think that they would dot their I's, cross their T's, especially because of how hot this race is. But both candidates actually did not dot their I's and cross their T's. It's just that Donald Trump's petitions are not objected to. And good, right? I mean, this is great news. I think that this is a really exciting objection. Now, here's the thing. The state of Illinois, either way, they're going to have egg on their face, okay? If these courts side with Joe Biden, or here's what I think is going to happen. The courts are going to have no way in keeping Joe Biden on that ballot. There's court precedent. It's pretty cut and dry. I wouldn't be shocked if the courts, do some sort of odd ruling. But if they do rule against Joe Biden not being on that ballot, and they keep this precedent of, hey, you have to have an Illinois notary. If they keep that, and if they do the right thing, I wouldn't doubt that Alexi Orange Julius, the Secretary of State here, just kind of goes around the Illinois Supreme Court or the Illinois Appellate Courts and just kind of says, well, screw you courts. We're going to do it our way. I would not be shocked if he does something like that. Colorado has kind of already done something like that in favor of President Donald Trump, where the Colorado Supreme Court said, hey, we want Donald Trump off of the ballot because of the 14th Amendment. But the Colorado Secretary of State said, no, we're going to keep him on the ballot. So, yeah, I don't know how far this is going to go. But either way, Illinois will have an egg on their face because because the Secretary of State is going to have egg on his face because he's going to be like, oh, man, I have to go against what the courts say. And if he does that, he's risking his political career, because if you go against what the courts say in the court of law and what the law says, then you are going to find yourself in a heap of trouble there, Alexi. And that opens you up to all kinds of lawsuits and things like that. So there's another objection that I want to get to today. We are also going to be visiting with Judge Joe McGraw. He's running for Congress here in just a little bit. You're listening to The Morning Buzz, Cities 92.9. Good morning, friends. Hey, if you're watching, go ahead and smash the like button. We're going to be talking with, hopefully, Congressman Joe McGraw. He's running for the 17th Congressional District against Eric Sorensen. And Eric Sorensen is a joke. He is quite literally just a weatherman who wears funky ties. And I don't know how he got into that office, but he did. So we're dealing with that. Judge Joe McGraw is going to be joining me to talk about the end of cash bail here in the state, and then we are also going to talk about the border and the crisis there. And now we've got Governor J.B. Pritzker whining, moaning. He's all upset because the immigrants are in Chicago, and he doesn't want them there because the Democrat National Convention is coming soon. So we'll chat about it here with Judge Joe. Right now, let's go. Judge Joe McGraw. He is running for the 17th Congressional District against Eric Sorensen. Eric Sorensen is a joke. He's actually a joke. He's a weatherman, and he thinks that qualifies him to be a congressman. And he makes everything about green weenie politics, about climate change, about climate change, and about electric vehicles, blah, blah, blah. In no way is this guy actually qualified. I don't know how he beat Esther Joy King in the last primary, but Joe McGraw is running in that 17th Congressional District. Joe, are you there?
Yes. Good morning, Kat.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, just fighting the winter storm aftermath here in Rockford. I assume you guys are too.
Yeah, it's freezing. The roads are absolutely nuts because there was just a small little dusting of snow that Logan County got and McLean County got, and there's just a small layer of snow. So be safe out there and stay warm. Speaking about hot topics, we've got to talk about the border. I have to read something to you. And I want your position on this. This is shocking because I'm actually shocked that the guy is detained because we have something here. It's the Safety Act, no cash bail. Chicago's very own version of the Sound of Freedom. Prosecutors say a Venezuelan man who's here in the U.S. illegally, by the way, Albiro Vasquez Roman. He's 24 years old. He's at the center of a sex trafficking ring where women are being forced into prostitution. Their families' lives are being threatened in Chicago. Two of the women were held at gunpoint at a residence in Austin, which is in Chicago. It's actually a few minutes away from Mayor Brandon Johnson's house. So a Cook County judge denied him release, thank God. But we're looking at an uptick of open-air drug deals. We've got prostitution running amok in Chicago. These migrant shelters are at capacity. I know there's one. It's on Michigan Avenue, the Inn of Chicago. They're at capacity. 2,300 people are being housed there. Judge, how are we going to get law enforcement to do their jobs? Right, and get these people to not be even here. I mean, this guy's here in the U.S. illegally. We should be deporting that guy. Why is he sitting in jail right now in Cook County?
You raise a lot of good points, Kat. You have to go to the source of the problem. The source of the problem is the first day that Joe Biden was in office, he issued an executive order repealing pretty much everything President Trump had done to keep the border situation secure. The migrants no longer had to wait in Mexico. They could just stream across the border. There's no infrastructure in place to accommodate that. It's been facilitated. The Border Patrol is overrun. The county sheriffs are overrun. And people come across completely unvetted because they're coming across in droves. And then they come to our communities and they bring their crime to our communities, make victims of Americans. And as a former judge, I saw the results of human trafficking. I saw the results of the spike in fentanyl in our communities. They've brought, because of their policies, all the crime from across the border, and now they're spreading it out so that each community feels the effect of those bankrupt border policies.
Yeah, well, and now we're we're looking at Joe Biden possibly being taken off of the ballot because he's providing aid and comfort to the enemies. So we're looking at him for treason. They're looking at it was an objection to his petitions to become president and to be on the primary ballot here in the state of Illinois. Aid and comfort. Now, one story comes to mind all of the time, and like you said, you've seen this as a judge.
I've seen it on the border also. I went down there and I saw this firsthand, Kat.
Oh, wow. Tell me a little bit about that. I mean, any stories that the Border Patrol agent shared with you?
Yes. Well, we were out at the border at 2 a.m. and the wind was coming from the south, and we could hear all the voices being carried to us on the wind. And you could hear the cracking of sticks in the woods just across the border as they were staging to come across. And then in the morning, they told us that people come across, they shred their IDs, their passports, anything they have, so they can essentially be anonymous. And in the morning, there was a cloud of litter blowing around the fence of shredded ID documents. They come across in huge groups, totally overwhelm law enforcement. And then when law enforcement attempts to gather them up, then the getaways come across, the drug traffickers, the terrorists. And on that point, the retired head of the Border Patrol for that entire area could speak candidly. And he told us about this guy that comes across. He's no ID, says he's, so-and-so. Any name you want, pick one out of the book. And then they release him into the U.S., give him a 4-year hearing date, 4 years to appear before a admin law judge. And then a couple of months after that, this guy gets arrested in the Twin Cities when a jihadist terrorist cell is captured by the FBI. And guess what? Mr. Joe Blow from the border is in that cell in the Twin Cities, and they found out that he was actually a general in the Iranian army. So these people are among us. They intend to do us ill. We have no idea who they are, where they are, or what they're up to, but we know it's not good. And then in terms of the people coming across, and so many drugs, fentanyl coming up through the southern border by drug dealers. The fentanyl is manufactured in China. It's a synthetic opioid and is inexpensive to manufacture. And it comes across by train, by mules. And we see it in Rockford. I was talking to some law enforcement officers in Galesburg recently, and they recovered several cylinders of fentanyl off a train they were searching in Galesburg. It's brought the border problems home to each of us.
Yeah, well, and you bring up something, and I want to read this. According to the Gateway Pundit, they have provided information about the U.S. intelligence officials and how they have warned of an increasing threat posed by Lebanese Hezbollah terrorist group, suggesting that they might strike American interests in the Middle East or even within the United States because the open border, like we're talking about. And one of the officials who was granted, he was anonymous here in the story, so that way he could discuss this sensitive intelligence. He said that he has concern that Hezbollah's ability to execute an attack on the U.S. Is very possible. Hezbollah could create their capabilities to position individuals for a potential attack. This is a matter of concern. So we're looking at an attack, maybe of mass size. This is why I tell people get out of cities, because if they're going to attack anywhere, I would imagine their goal is to kill as many people. And where are they going to go? The cities. Right?
Well, they've demonstrated in the past, and their ideology hasn't changed. We'd be unwise to think that somehow they've become benign since 9/11. And many of the chiefs of police met late last year, and the consensus was there will be a terrorist attack. It's just a question of when, and that's why I'm so gratified to have the support of law enforcement, specifically the sheriffs in the district and other chiefs of police and other law enforcement professionals, because they're the ones that have to deal with this on a day-to-day basis. They're the ones that have to deal with the illegal aliens and the crime they bring with them. And they understand the day-to-day challenges, and that's why they're backing me.
So tell me about what is this law enforcement coalition that you have, and you're releasing your law enforcement coalition?
Yes, there's consists of sheriffs from many, almost 2/3 of the counties in the 17th congressional district. Many current and former law enforcement professionals, from state police to FBI, and to current or past chiefs of police, and others involved in the pretrial release phase. All these issues are related because you have to have a coherent plan. You've got to have the authority to execute a coherent plan to deal with this myriad of issues. And I've talked to them, I've listened to them, I've heard their concerns. They're aware of my background as a prosecutor, an attorney, and as a judge for over almost 22 years. And they know that I will have their back and make sure that the respect for law and order is reestablished and that the insane border policies will be reversed.
Okay, so this is just a group that is backing you, right? Are they going to be doing anything, or is it just like a political action committee?
Well, they're definitely backing, and they'll be, of course, speaking to others in the community. I mean, the sheriffs are probably the most powerful elected official in a county, and they probably know everybody. And they know these aren't partisan issues, Kat. These are issues that affect everybody, regardless of affiliation. And, with crime and the economy is on the top of everyone's mind. And they'll be providing insight and input to me as I'm out campaigning in the district as to what the issues are and how they're manifesting themselves locally.
Now, one thing before we go, I really want to talk about Eric Sorensen. Esther Joy King, she ran against him, and somehow he won against that candidate. Esther Joy King, how are you going to be any different? And, why did he win? Are you worried about him as an opponent?
Well, people have asked me, well, Esther didn't win. How can you win? And I've said to each of them, what's different? And they say, what? And I say, everything. Everything is different. The issues we've just been talking about, rampant crime, the crashed economy due to Biden's reckless spending, the high interest rates, those weren't on the radar when Eric ran the first time. Second, when Sorensen ran the first time, he was allowed to run more or less anonymously as the friendly Quad City weatherman. Now he has a voting record he can't run away from, he can't hide. He's voted lockstep with Biden and Pelosi and Jeffries the entire time, voted with AOC and the squad the entire time. He's a radical leftist. His values don't reflect the values of the 17th district. He's tunnel vision focused on climate change and electric vehicles and ignoring the real concerns that keep people up at night in the 17th district. So those are all the changes. And I have a strong record of being an innovator in the court system, being a fair judge, being respected by law enforcement. And these are issues that I can bring forward and speak about, as well as the economic issues. And, so now Eric Sorensen has the ball and chain of his voting record around him, and he's got these issues that are the top of everyone's mind, regardless of their party affiliation. So the entire landscape changed. Additionally, NRCC has said that this is the only flippable seat in Congress in Illinois and one of the top 5 in the country. And as 17th goes, so goes the nation, because the margins are narrow. And if we can win the 17th, and I believe we will, that will make the House more secure and give us an opportunity to make some common sense legislation.
Yeah, well, Judge Joe McGraw, we've got to take a break, but thank you so much for joining the program. And how can we learn more about you?
Yeah, Kat, thank you. You can go to judgejoeforcongress.com, and we're also on Twitter and Facebook under Judge Joe McGraw, and you can see what we've been up to. And we're going to be rolling out regular newsletters as well and letting everyone know what we're up to. And on the 25th in Peoria, Congressman Darren LaHood is going to be formally endorsing me, and you can read about that as well.
Okay. All right, Judge Joe McGraw, you have a great rest of your day and stay warm out there.
All right. Thanks, Kat. You too.
All right. Folks, we're going to be back. This is Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Morning! This is the Morning Buzz, and it's cold out there. There's a lot of closures, cancellations, and delays. You can find them at cities99.com. Bloomington, District 87, they're learning remotely today, so don't let the kids pull fast one on you. They're supposed to be learning remotely. Unit 5, though, they are not learning remotely, and there are no practices, activities, or games before 3 p.m. today. Cornerstone Christian Academy closed, Pontiac closed, Leroy closed, Prairie Central closed. So find the complete list at cities99.com. I wanted to get to this story one more time. This is a pro-Palestinian heckler who finds out what happens when you mess with Texas after interrupting. This heckler interrupts Governor Greg Abbott. So a pro-Palestinian heckler tried to interrupt a speech from Governor Abbott, and he thought that he had enough power, and he thought that he was going to be able to overpower a bunch of cowboys who were sitting and listening to Greg Abbott. That probably is going to be the last time he tries to interrupt a speech where a bunch of cowboys are trying to listen. So, according to the Daily Caller, a disgruntled youngster interrupted Governor Abbott's speech. He was quickly drowned out by the crowd's booing, boo, boo. And then the crowd started to manhandle him, yank him, shove him. And then the guy started yelling out. You can hear him, don't flip and touch me, flip and touch me. Can't say the other word. But the crowd, they yanked on him, shoved him out of the event. Multiple attendees were wearing cowboy hats, and they removed him from the building. This was a campaign event for Governor Greg Abbott's reelection campaign. And it also occurred on the same day. We had a bunch of pro-Palestinian protesters marching on the White House, trying to climb the fence. Now, this heckler also had a man bun, so that really concluded the video. I enjoyed watching a bunch of cowboys take out a guy who had a man bun. But like I said, anyone who feels entitled to disrupt an event like this belongs to some of the dumbest members of society. Okay, he has got to be one of the dumbest members of society, because nobody who disagrees with you would suddenly change their hearts and minds because you childishly decided to interrupt an event like this. Okay, now I never see anybody on the right interrupt events like this or disrupting people's lives, standing in traffic. I've never seen anybody on the right do that. I've seen it. Okay, I lied. One time, somebody on the right, I'd imagine somebody on the right, and I don't even know if he was on the right, but he interrupted Hillary Clinton's stupid speech. And he exposed her husband in front of a whole group of people for traveling with Jeffrey Epstein on private planes over 20 times without his security detail, without his Secret Service detail, and going to possibly, allegedly, Jeffrey Epstein's island. Okay. Now, he has been exposed in these unsealed court documents, and this deals with human trafficking. Okay. This guy needs to, if there's any truth to this, if they can prove that, Bill Clinton needs to go to jail. Okay. Hillary Clinton, if she aided him and covered for him, then she needs to go to jail. These are crimes. And anyway, that's the only time I've ever seen somebody disrupt from the right. Typically, these sort of stunts come from people on the left, where they disrupt events and disrupt people's lives. They block traffic. You are entitled to peacefully assemble and make your grievances heard. You have no right to disrupt the peace. And that's what this heckler did. He disrupted a bunch of cowboys trying to listen to this speech. And the results did not go as planned, obviously, for him. What did he think was going to be the reaction here? Did he think that all of these cowboys would hold hands and scream ceasefire together? No. And these people are so mentally incompetent. Their minds can't grasp that your actions have future consequences. And like I said, guy's an idiot. But and nobody's going to listen to your cause if you're being a bonehead and if you're acting like an immature brat. Okay, moral of the story, don't mess with Texas. I do have to take a break. You're listening to the Morning Buzz. I'll be back with a story about an objection to Joe Biden's petition, or really just Joe Biden being on the ballot. In the state of Illinois, a ragtag group of Illinois voters, they're going after Joe Biden. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. I so do appreciate you guys texting in. Yes, I do agree. More fraud candidates pushing digital stalking agendas and calling it legal and law. Yes, Rhino. Yeah. I can't. I can't dis. I can't discredit your comments here. Okay, I understand. Joe McGraw, backed by a lot of shady folks. I just went on IllinoisSunshine.org, backed by all the wrong people. And yeah, his backing is concerning. And I personally wanted Ray Estrada, and Ray Estrada abruptly dropped. But who else are we going to vote for, right? Do you mark it? Do you mark the R? Do you not mark the R? I don't know. We can't vote for Eric, right? Obviously, he's the leftist. But yeah, Illinois is broken. It's very broken. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. I so do appreciate it. Yes, I am going to get to a few of your comments here because you guys have point. Rhinos and the system and industries are funding and backing infrastructure projects in this state, and the district China model lovers, they love it. They call it legal system and law, and it all sounds cool and upright. Illinois is lost. So I think we're all talking about the candidate Judge Joe McGraw. You guys in the comments section are lighting him up. Esther Joy King was a great candidate. Judge is backed by shady dollars and elites, and they want to welcome China to Illinois. They're a bunch of fake frauds. Yeah, man, there's a lot of them. Our district and Illinois is lost and are all a bunch of fakes and frauds. Yeah. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I was for Ray Estrada. Ray Estrada abruptly left the race in that district. I really wanted to see him win. And yeah, the backing of Judge Joe McGraw does concern me. He has a lot of concerning backers. So yeah, I appreciate you guys being on top of it. But like I said, who else are we gonna vote for? Obviously, Eric. I mean, he's the D. Like, do you mark the R? Do you not mark the R? I don't know. It's disheartening to see where the state of Illinois is at, but it's always a good thing to find the freedom fighters out there like Peggy Hubbard. We've got Shane Bouvet. We've got a few people, Timothy Conrad. They've got this objection against President Joe Biden of him being on the ballot. And the crux of that lawsuit is actually the 14th Amendment. They're saying in this lawsuit, it alleges that Joe Biden actually committed like treason. He aided and provided comfort to the enemies of the United States, despite swearing an oath to support the Constitution 9 times as both a U.S. Senator and as a vice president. So that's exciting to see that objection. I've got to go. You guys have a great rest of your day. Stay warm and find us on cities99.com. And we'll do it all over again tomorrow morning.